Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest channel and podcast, and whichever platforms you're listening to this on. I just want to let you know that I really do appreciate it. And if you are subscribed, thank you for being a subscriber. But if you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to the platforms. And if you're listening to this on YouTube while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like button. It's like walking into the room and hitting that light switch. We just want to go ahead and brighten up the place. And let's get into this podversation. I saw this article about Dr. Phil and his views and his comments and thoughts on African Americans, African descendants of slaves to be more exact, getting reparations. And this is a conversation that has gone on for many, many years. I follow someone on YouTube who actually started what it's called ADOS, African Descendants of Slave movement, and the founders of it, Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell, he has a channel called Tonetalks. So I've seen a number of his videos and heard his commentary on reparations, as well as not just on reparations, but what he has coined the decadent veil, which is how the supposed wealth of Black celebrities to be more exact, gives a lot of Black people this false hope of them being able to achieve the same things that these chosen select few celebrities have been able to achieve, such as the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's and, the Diddy's and the Will Smiths and, those like that. I'm not talking about your everyday quote unquote influencer or somebody who's gained a lot of followers, and from that they've been able to profit from it or monetize it, should I say, maybe not even profit, but monetize it versus working what we call a regular job. He's talked a lot about things like the rideshare industry, Uber, Lyft, and how you're not really a business owner. You're not really even an independent contractor. You're really an employee, but the way they have things labeled and the rules that have been put in place in the guidelines and government for that industry, even though that rideshare industry has enough to be able to treat people as employees, they market it as a way where, you can make your own hours and work as you please, be an independent contractor, but yet you're pretty much destroying your vehicle in the process, and how a lot of people who are in that industry doing the ride sharing really are not doing really well. But anyway, I wanted to just talk about this story and just share my thoughts on it and get yours respectfully in the comment section about it. Well, pretty much the basis of the story is that Dr. Phil doesn't think that it would be a good idea for the U.S. government to give what I believe, views as broke people large checks, and that would be Black people. So he discussed reparations with his guest, William A. Darity Jr., a Duke University professor who co-authored From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. Darity said every Black descendant of slavery should receive $350,000 in reparations, but Dr. Phil said handing broke people that much money would be an absolute disaster. He also wondered where the U.S. government would find $14 trillion to give reparations to that many Black Americans. He says, I can tell you from a psychological perspective that if you take $350,000 or $840,000 and you write a check to any group of people, Black, white, poor, homeless, whatever, you give any group of people that much money and say, there you go, best of luck. You come back in 6 months, they're going to be broke. Whatever reparations are done, that would be an absolute disaster as opposed to guidance and help in creating generational wealth as opposed to income. Now, listen, I am so freaking tired of people that try to put that spin on it. I just feel like he should just come in and say, look, I don't think they deserve it. And just put it like that. That's what I feel he should say. Just say, I don't think they deserve it. The people who built this country, the slaves are no longer here. No one who is alive today is still a slave. So why should we give them money? I feel that instead of saying that, he spins it. And some people who are against reparations spin it to say things like, well, you know, if you just give them a check, then they're going to be broke the next time you come back around to check on them. And who's to say that that's the truth? Because here's the situation, and that's why I wanted to talk about this, because I feel that it's so hypocritical. He had this girl who was on his show years ago, who has now created this persona called Bad Babby, but she went viral because she was this Caucasian girl who was being nasty and rude and disrespectful and possibly even violent. I don't know. I didn't watch it, with her mom on the show. And the way she was speaking was what some people like to call as speaking black. I don't believe that someone who's speaking unintelligible or someone that's speaking broken English or speaking slang should be called speaking black, but that's what a lot of people like to coin it, or talking ghetto. Okay, whatever. Well, she went viral for the audience in their responses to her and how disrespectful she was to her mom, and just talking about how she doesn't respect authority and whatever else she was talking about. And I guess going back and forth with the audience, she went viral for saying something to the audience, saying, "Cash me outside. How about that?" So pretty much what she was trying to say is, you know, if you're so big and bad, then why don't you meet me outside and we can throw blows with each other? Okay? But I'm saying that to say, she and her mom were broke. He had this girl on his show. I'm not saying he's responsible for the virality or going viral that she got from being on a show. But if it were not for her being on his show, she would not be I guess, say a multi-millionaire or just a millionaire in present day's time, because she's created this persona off of being on the show. She has gotten so many opportunities to make money. She's made music. I have never listened to a word of it, so I can't tell you about any of it. And then she also created an OnlyFans account where she made millions of dollars, like I think they said within like a 24 hours point in time or time period. And that's crazy. I don't see her back in the welfare line. I don't see her saying that she needs to apply for food stamps and child support. So that line and that spin of how just giving people checks, they're going to be broke again. Yeah, some people possibly might be, but the God's honest truth is that's not true. Because if people were able to garner that amount of money, then, and they were broke, no, they might not go and seek therapy on their own and try to invest in education and get their mind right and deal with any social or spiritual issues that they may have dealt with in the past or in their present time, so that they can live a life better moving forward. But the majority of those people are going to be stimulating the economy anyway. That's why the line about that is so ridiculous, because if they chose to spend it all, that's their choice. It's going back into the government. That's why the stimulus checks that they have given out during the pandemic and during the Obama administration, during the time of the housing crisis crash, the bank crash and all that other stuff, market, all those different things that have happened in the times that the Bush administration put out stimulus checks. The reason they call them stimulus checks is it's stimulating the economy, because when the recession is going on and prices are rising and people can't really afford to do the things that they normally do, they pull back on their money, and they're only really spending their money, most people, on the essentials, on the things that they really need. And that hurts the economy, because we live in a world, especially in the United States, this is a capitalist society. And one of the things that's good about that is, yes, any person or other people, or just those who are here who are citizens, we can forge our own path and make our own way. And we're not forced to be a soldier in the U.S. military, or we're not forced to go to school, or we're not forced to. I mean, I get it. I get that. So freedom, I'm all for it. Capitalism, it's good in its places. Except when you have, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole because I don't want this to be a very long episode. But also what is, I won't say bad, but the flip side of that coin, with capitalism, it can also have its downside as well, which it does. Anything that has a good side has a bad side. That's just the world that we live in. And so because of that, almost every business that is existing, any corporation that is existing, anything, any job, whatever, we're all either doing services or have products or whatever it is, it's based on sales. People have to be able to buy the products, purchase the services, hire the people to mow their lawn, to clean their house, to fix their plumbing, to install their internet service, to do all of these different things. All of it takes money. Everything in this country runs on money. And when people create businesses, it's creating an opportunity for them to make money, but people have to be able to buy those products or those services that they're offering. So if people don't have money to do it, then we're all in a hole, right? So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this, because I really feel like that comment and that way of thinking is so asinine when it comes to acting like you care, as if, well, if a bunch of these broke Black people get reparations, they're just going to be broke again. You really don't care about that, to be honest with you. So I just feel that he should just be honest and say how he really feels, and just say, look, no one who's alive is still a slave, so they don't deserve it. Just come out and say that, because there's so many other ethnic groups that have gotten reparations, and still to this day. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now either, but I'm just saying you can look it up. Okay? The other side of that is that there's so much crime in this country. And in my opinion, I am not a statistician. I don't have the statistics in front of me. I'm not an expert in crime, and that's that. But what I will say, based on what I see, when I watch news reports, when I watch things that are going on in the world when it comes to someone who has committed a crime, the crimes usually fall in three categories. One of those are crimes of passion. So it's people that are in relationships with each other, crimes of passion / familial. So people that are in relationships with each other, trying to get out of relationships, domestic, situations and things like that, or familial situations, and crime happens in those situations. It has nothing to do with any people on the outside. It's an in-house thing. All horrible. But that's one category that crimes usually fall in. Another category is mental. We don't address mental health in this country. It's amazing to me. I mean, health is pretty much on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the well-being of people in this country overall anyway. But mental health falls into the category of health. It deals with our brain. And it always baffles me when I hear about how disproportionate it is when it comes to the treatment for mental health, when that should really be at the top, because the brain is the main epicenter for functions of our body. And so when people are having mental health crises, or they're going, through things mentally, and they have not been able to get the treatment that they need, unfortunately, sometimes that winds up with them creating criminal situations in our society where they have performed criminal activity, where, it is either they have taken someone out, they've assaulted someone, maybe they're stealing things, they're schizophrenic, they're just all of these different things that are going on that are not being addressed and that are not being treated. So we have crimes that fall into the mental category. And then finally, financial. Most people who are stealing or robbing people, whatever, I get it. There are some people who are just outright greedy, and they don't have to do the things that they're doing to get money. If they use that mind for good instead of evil, then they could possibly create some of the most amazing businesses that could be extremely successful and profitable. But they choose to be drug dealers or arms dealers or, anything that is criminal. But they do it for financial reasons. And a lot of people get into financial crimes because they feel that they don't have any other choices, options, or alternatives, and they need that bag now. They want to get a grip. They want to be able to live like the Joneses, or they want to be able to live better than their family lived or whatever. So they get into these crimes that they're committing financially. So again, I say most crimes that are committed fall into the category of mental, passion/familial, and finally financial. And then there's a group that thinks that a lot of Black people commit crimes, even though we're, supposedly only 13% of the population. So I don't really know. But I'm saying if that is the truth, then why wouldn't you say, look, we don't want to be in this constant state of fear, thinking that every time a Black person comes around that they're about to, take advantage of me, rob me, steal from me, take me out, whatever, because they got their own, so they don't need to try to take mine. So why wouldn't you do this to protect yourself? And that, again, is just my opinion. If you feel that way about how a lot of Black people are really dangerous and they're poor and they're living in these poor communities and they live in the projects or they live in the hood or they live in the ghetto, do you think people really want to live that way? And not just giving them the money, but put stipulations in there where it is that they will get mental health treatment as well as they will be getting some education on how to handle the money. Like, what is wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that a lot of people who use the excuse about, well, you just can't give broke people that much money because they're just going to be broke again. You really don't care if they're broke because they're already broke, a lot of them. So why not? Why not? Don't give me the line about, well, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, he can, live forever. Yeah, that's true. But we don't really live in a society where you can honestly, literally pick yourself up by your own bootstraps. Yes, you can make attempts to do that, but if you have nothing and you come from nothing, there has to be resources and help and support out there to help you. So I don't believe that line when people say that they didn't get help from anything or anyone or anybody. Yeah, you may not have had anything given to you, and it's possible that you may have gotten loans and things that you have to pay back, but the way debt is in this country is just absolutely insane. So look, I can't tell you where the government would be able to find $14 trillion to give reparations like he said, but they find money for other things any other time. So that's really not the problem of those who I believe deserve to get it. And if they get it and then they become broke again, that's on them. People win the lottery and get broke all the time. They don't stop offering people the opportunity to play the lottery and possibly win because, you know what? We're not going to give you this check because you're broke now and you're probably going to be broke again. The statistics show that most people who win the lottery, they never keep themselves out of the situation that they were in prior to winning. They don't do that. Now, some people may say, well, it's different because they're putting something into it. So whatever, spare me. I believe that the lottery industry makes way more than they actually pay out. That's just my opinion. I do believe that. Because we don't actually, this country doesn't operate in a way where if something benefits other people more than it benefits them, that they would continue to do it. It just doesn't work that way. Las Vegas, they don't have people winning all the time for a reason, because if people were constantly winning more than the house was winning, do you think they would allow gambling to keep going on? They absolutely would not. So I just wanted to talk about that. Again, I just feel like it's a cop-out when people like Dr. Phil make those comments to talk about, well, they're just going to be broke again. Okay, let's prevent them from being broke again, possibly by not only with the money you're offering some sort of education some therapy, some other things that people need. But, you know, that's just the world we live in. You got to, I guess, have the haves and the have-nots. That's why they allow so many people to just continuously be out on the streets and be homeless versus trying to address the issue. And I get it. There are some people who don't want anything more, but I believe that there are more people who are homeless that do want to have another chance in life versus those who just want to live off of the grid and not live by society's rules and all of that other, you know, crazy stuff like that. And we also have to admit that a lot of people who are homeless, they are mentally ill as well. And this country does not treat mental illness. It doesn't. And so, and just to give an example, housing is absolutely insane, absolutely ridiculous at this point. Even though I'm a homeowner, I believe it's one of the biggest scams that's out there. Because, for example, bought my first home in 2009 with my husband. And during that time, it was during the housing market crash. So we got in at a really great time. I'm really thankful for the time that we got in it. But I'm so grateful that I bought my house then versus trying to buy a house now. Because the same houses that we purchased years ago, over 10 years ago, those same houses are selling for like double what we paid, or more than double than what we paid for our house many years ago. And I just think that it's an extremely big ripoff. Now, I'm grateful because I'm on the other side of it, but I don't think it's fair for those who are trying to get in it. You know, has the value of these homes gone up that much more versus you're just saying, well, it's been that many years since, you know, the housing market was in this arena, so now we have to increase it to this arena because it's over 10 years later. I just think it's a load of baloney and bullcrap. So helping people to become homeowners, that actually isn't something that they really want to do. They would prefer to have more corporate companies purchasing these homes and renting these homes out to people so that people will be forever renters versus homeowners. And I get it. There's some people who don't want to own a home. They would prefer to just rent so that the responsibilities are not on them. But the way a lot of these corporate companies are operating with renting homes out, they don't want to pay to get anything fixed. They just want to get that money, and it better not be late. So, you know, I just feel that the way that things are going, I don't know. I don't know where things are going when it comes to the housing market alone, let alone just overall. But if you don't want to give a group money that you feel that they, I won't say you don't want to come out and say they don't deserve it, but you actually feel they don't deserve it. But instead of saying that, you're actually acting as if you have concern about it and say, well, you just can't give that much money to people who are not used to having it because they're just going to be broke before you know it. And that's really not his place to even try to think about, let alone worry about, or try to do something about it to say, well, because this is the case, we shouldn't give them anything. Okay? I just don't get it. I don't know why, if it's not coming out of your pocket, which some people feel like, well, it's going to come out of the taxpayer's pocket. Well, so what? I mean, everything else comes out of our pockets. So I don't know. I just really feel like it's a huge cop-out for him to say that. He should have just said how he really felt. And what I feel like he really feels is that he doesn't feel that anyone deserves reparations because no one who is alive today was a slave. So we should just get over it and move on. Those are my thoughts. You can let me know yours in the comment section below. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. This is Beth, and I'm just being beautifully honest. So until the next time, I just wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.